David Sampson, the author of Wordsworth and the Poor, The Poetry to Survival, argues that one of the leading factors of present judgment of Wordsworth's poetry was that it overlooked common literary ways in which poems were usually written. Sampson says, and I quote, "This was done in favor of private associations unintelligible to the common reader." Sampson goes on to explain how everyone in Goody Blake and Harry Gill is socially distanced. He writes that this poem is harsh and it has been described as vulgar everyday expressions. He says that Goody Blake is poor, which is in fact true, but then goes on to say that it's an inappropriate expression of pity, which I can agree with, because she steals Harry Gill's sticks from his old hedge. The poem tells us that Goody Blake is always cold and she is very old and aches. She also spends most of her days spurning, but still does not make enough money to get the right supplies she needs to keep herself warm. I think that it is indecent that she decides to go take someone else's coal and sticks. I thought the most interesting part of this article was the fact that Sampson compared Goody Blake and Harry Gill's shared suffering to reserved pity and self-interest as a response to poverty. I didn't see it that way when I first read it, but Goody Blake and Harry Gill almost come together as one at the end because they both struggle, and you're able to see Goody Blake's strong character even though she is old, and Harry Gill's character because he sees her as old and fragile instead of a burglar, even though she did put a curse on him. Sampson continues to argue that Wordsworth's writing in Goody Blake and Harry Gill is not compassionate and there's no personal sympathy with his characters. He also says that it is probably more shocking to readers of our generation than it would have been to his people. Sampson proves his point of Wordsworth's literary language not being modern enough or understanding enough, which is why modern day readers have a more difficult time comprehending Wordsworth's emotions and feelings behind his writing.